All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're joined up here by UCLA head coach Corey Close and student athletes Angela Dugalich and Gabriela Jaques. We're going to start with an opening statement from Coach Close, and then we will open it up to questions for the student athletes, first in the room and then on Zoom. As a reminder, if you are joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function so I know you have a question. Coach Close.
Thank you all for being here. We're excited for another opportunity. I have so enjoyed this group of this team and want to keep coaching them. And so we've earned another opportunity. And so just looking forward to prepare against a really good Creighton team, so efficient offensively, so versatile, a very experienced team. And so it's going to take our complete focus to earn another one. And so our total focus right now is trying to be the most prepared team, the most together team, the toughest team going into tomorrow's matchup, which will not be easy because Creighton is a very formidable opponent.
We're going to open up to questions in the room for the student athletes.
For both of you, I'll obviously ask Coach for an update in a minute here, but if Lauren's able to come back tomorrow, what does that add to your team and just your chances of prevailing and winning a big game like this?
We'll start with Angela and then have Gabriela answer.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren's presence is very known, and she makes it a lot easier to play with. I think Creighton's a very good three-point shooting team, just all around in general, but having Lauren, just her presence in the paint, maybe it'll disturb a little bit of that. So I think it'll be a great presence. And if she can't, I don't know her status either, but if she can, I think we're completely fine without her and even better with her. So yeah.
Yeah, along with what Angela said, we obviously love playing with Lauren, and we want her to play anytime possible, but again, we don't know her status. But she's just a dominant force out there, rebounding, blocking shots, finishing at the rim. So, yeah.
We're going to go in the third row.
Corey John with the Creightonian. Gabriela, you had a big game last night, scoring 19 points. How big was it for you to get rolling last night as you entered the tournament?
Yeah, I think that I was just really excited to play March Madness. It's a lot of fun, and it was great energy, and so I was just ready to play. I knew that we had a size advantage. I knew that the post-ups would be there, so just kind of took advantage of that and just kind of helped the team with whatever I could do.
We're going to go second row.
I believe Coach said that Creighton has 5 seniors. I can't remember if they're all starters. But what challenges that present? I know you've got some veterans as well, but when you have a team that's been that veteran savvy, and they're going to make smart decisions and play a good game, how do you kind of counteract that, or do you even not think about that?
We'll start with Angela and then go to Gabriela.
I actually didn't know that they were all veterans, so I mean that's a really cool thing for them. But I don't really think about that stuff. I think basically everyone on our team has some form of college experience, and we've been playing with each other for the whole year. I'm confident in our abilities.
Yeah, along with that, I didn't know they were all seniors either.
I didn't share that with them.
Yeah, we're just kind of more focused on like how they are as players, and we know they're a really good team, and we're just ready to play them.
We're going to go in the third row.
Gabriela, you mentioned the size matchup you had yesterday. Both of you are taller than the entire Creighton roster. How does that change the way you prepare, the way you play tomorrow?
I think that we're just gonna, scout today and just continue to see what they do and just focus on being us and getting the ball inside, taking the right shots we know to take, and just continue to rebound and play good defense.
Second row.
Just going back and forth. Stylistically, what challenges do they present from what you've seen of them on film, and what are you expecting to have to do well to win the game?
I think everyone knows this, but they're a really great three-point shooting team, so we have to guard the three-point line. Transition defense is going to be big. Defending without fouling, they're the #1 team in the nation for free throw percentage. So we have keys that we just prepared for, and they're also good two-point scorers, if you could say that too. Great cutters. They set and use screens really well, so we just have to defend.
Our next question is going to come from Joe Reedy via Zoom.
Is their style similar to any teams that you've faced this year, or with the 5-out motion, it's a unique challenge?
We're going to have Angela answer first and then Gabriella.
I think the closest opponent that you could relate them to that we've played is Utah. They do, I mean, the similar style. There are mainly three-point shooters in Utah. Here, I think there are even more three-point shooters than they are. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, similar to what Ann said, Utah, just with the three-point shooting threats, just running them off the line and trying to limit their threes that they take, and just, yeah.
Any more questions
Okay.
for the student athletes? Thank you both. Appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks.
We're going to open it up to questions for Coach Close.
Just following up on Lauren, is she expected to practice today, and what's her status?
Yeah, you know, we are going to hopefully get her through some drills today, and so I still think it'll be really day-to-day and how she responds, but we are hopeful, and we are going to have her involved in practice today.
Third row.
Coach, both of them mentioned the cutting and the motion offense of Creighton. Flannery called them a very unique and difficult scout. Do you agree with that, and why do you think that is if you do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He is a very difficult and unique scout. It's their combination of off-ball cuts, flare screens, staggers. They just occupy so much of your help. And they have very few people you can play off of at all. And the other thing is that a lot of teams that play 5 out are a little bit more scripted. You know when certain players touch the ball in certain places on the floor that these things are going to happen. I think with them, they're much more versatile and more random. And so credit to them that, I've been watching them for years. I mentioned this last night, but I have had my total respect for a long time. And so we obviously had them here. I think it was 2019 maybe that they were an opponent here at Poly, and just to watch his consistency. It's one thing to get good. It's a whole nother thing to stay really good for a long period of time. And Creighton has done that. And credit to their coaching staff, credit to their culture. But they really are a difficult scout for us, especially on a one-day turnaround.
Second row.
Obviously, they've had a great season, but in their losses, have you seen anything that they've consistently have not done well that maybe you can use to your advantage?
Yeah, I think definitely, it's really about playing to our identity. And one thing that's really good is that for us, we really like to pick up full court. We like to pressure the basketball. We like to make them think about us for 94 feet. And when you look at the teams that have beaten them or given them trouble, that pressure on the basketball has been really, really important. And they forced them to not shoot as well from the three-point line. I just don't think you can trade threes and twos. They are a better three-point shooting team than we are. So we have got to limit that. If we can get them, even if they, score some hard twos, that's different, but we can't compete and trade threes with them. So, but I think, whether it be their games versus UConn or their most recent loss in the Big East tournament against Georgetown, their pressure on the basketball and those other teams able to get downhill against them defense also put them in some difficult situations. But it really comes down to ball pressure and being able to chase them off the three-point line.
Our next question is going to come via Zoom from Joe Reedy of the AP.
Corey, would Utah be a good comparison point when trying to prepare for this team?
Yes, very much so. They're the closest. They don't have as much off-ball screening action as Creighton does, but that is, Coach Tony has this scout, and that is who he likened them to, the closest one that we've prepared for.
And then you had a close second-round game here last year with Oklahoma, but also with Ohio State's loss today. Is that kind of good for the players to, with 2 seeds and that anything can happen?
Well, I just think that March Madness is March Madness for a reason, and anything can happen. But I really don't want to give any credence to anybody else. I think that takes away from our ability to prepare to play our best and be our best. And so, obviously, Colorado just beating Kansas State. I mean, there's all kinds of upsets happening in the men's side as well as the women's side. But I just think that's something I have zero control over. We have zero control over, and I don't want anything to take away from the things we actually do have control over, and that's our preparation, that's our competitiveness, it's our enjoyment of this experience. And we actually Coach Tasha showed a video to them of Kobe Bryant several years ago, and he was talking. The interviewer was saying, I think it was Jamil Hill actually, that was saying, do you hate losing more or love winning more? And he said, neither. Either one takes me away from my process. And either one takes me away from being the best and learning from every experience and every moment. And Coach Tasha reminded our team of that video today and said, look, our process doesn't change. We come in here, we looked at a couple of mistakes we made last night in transition defense. We made some, adjustments that we need to make, and we are just falling in love with the process of what it takes to become great. And we don't want to be deterred by that from anything anybody else is doing in the tournament.
We'll go in the second row.
You talked about their offensive tendencies and their threes. Obviously, guarding the three was huge against Cal Baptist. Is the way they generate their threes a lot different, Creighton, and what will the challenge be there?
Yeah, I think the way that they, Cal Baptist really wants to create those threes in transition a lot more. Their pace of play is higher than Creighton's, but Creighton's come a lot more out of screening actions, whereas Cal Baptist comes a lot more out of drive and kick in transition. So how we handle all of Creighton's screening actions and ability to communicate through when we need to switch, when we need to stay, how we get over the top, who are you guarding, making sure that our mismatches don't get us in trouble in terms of post-ups. And so we just have a lot more to communicate through in the quarter court.
We're going to go in the third row.
Yesterday, Creighton was kind of content to trade 3 for 2, letting Desiree Young go for 30 while they just put up 3 after 3. Do you think if they take that approach, it plays to your advantage or theirs?
Well, if they make as many threes as they did yesterday, it definitely plays to theirs. I mean, they like I said before, they are a better three-point shooting team than us. I mean, the numbers don't lie. They've got several players that do such a good job with that. We don't want to. We want to get stops, and we have a goal to get 8 kills a game, and a kill is 3 stops in a row. And so for them, if you're going to get stops, you better take them off the three-point line. So I don't know if I'm going to get into trading 3s and 2s. We definitely don't want to do that. It definitely plays to their advantage. I don't think we can do and rely on Charisma getting 30 or Lauren Betts getting 30, and then they miss 3s. You're hoping they miss 3s. I don't want it to come down to that.
We'll go in the third row again.
And then on the defensive end, if they do allow, say, Betts is available or Angela and Gabriella to score the way they were allowing Desiree, would you be happy with that, or would you still be looking to take more shots on the outside?
No, I mean, if you don't stop us in the paint, we're going to keep going to the paint. That's how we're built. Just like they're built in their motion offense and being able to shoot the 3 and off-ball cuts and screens, we're built from the inside out. We're built on our guards getting downhill and getting the ball inside to the post. And so if they are going to let us do that all night, which we are at our best when we're able to do that, then we're going to keep doing that and then find ways to try to keep them from being their best. I mean, that's really what each one of these matchups come down to, is which team can keep the other team from playing at their best and play to their identity and their best at the same time. And, I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, but that really is the goal.
Any more questions for Coach? Thank you.
Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and get started. We are now joined by Creighton head coach Jim Flannery and student athletes Morgan Malley and Mallory Brake. We will get started with an opening statement from Coach Flannery, followed by questions in the room and on Zoom for the student athletes. If you are joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function so I know you have a question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Yeah, we have a huge opportunity and a huge challenge tomorrow evening. UCLA is a really good team. I watched them early in the year a couple times and was super impressed with them. And then, as you get busy in your conference season, you see a little bit less of them. But they've got pretty much everything you need to be a great team. But I'd like to think that we do too. And I think yesterday, I thought we really clicked as a team. I thought we played like a mature group, and we handled the moment, which I think is really important in an NCAA tournament, because you can be a good team and fall flat in an NCAA tournament game if you don't kind of have the right approach and you're not connected and willing to help each other out, because everybody's nervous. They're a little more nervous, and I thought we got through some of those nerves early and played really well. And like I said, we're thrilled for the opportunity tomorrow night. And to get to stay a little bit longer in Los Angeles because the weather, I think, is a little better than it is in Omaha. But we know what a challenge we have, but and way less prep time. I mean, I think that's the thing that, when you get your assignment on Sunday, you got all week when you don't play till Saturday to get ready for that first opponent, and then it's a quick turnaround. So we won't be as, detailed, but on the other hand, they probably won't be either.
We're going to open up to questions for the student athletes. We're going to start in the second row.
Ben Bulch, Los Angeles Times. If Lauren Betts is able to play for UCLA, what kind of challenges that present? I mean, I think she's 6'7". I think that's 6 inches taller than anyone on your roster, roughly. So what kind of challenges would that present? I'm sure you've played, against players her height previous this season, but what kind of challenges have you seen watching her on film, and how would you go about counteracting her if she's able to play?
We'll start with Morgan and then have Mallory answer.
You just try to push her out as far away from the basket as possible. I think there's not a ton you can do once she does get the ball. So I think trying to get her uncomfortable, and then also maybe trying to have the guards surround once she does get the ball and try to get touches, tie it up. We'll see.
Yeah, if she plays tomorrow night, I think it's obviously going to impact the game for us, but we just talked about even today being physical with all of their bigs and kind of relying on our fundamentals and guards to peel back and help us inside.
We're going to go in the third row.
Morgan, you've talked a little bit earlier this season about you and Emma being extremely competitive in practices. Have you seen a different level of aggression with her this past week, or a different demeanor from her?
Yeah, I think she's kind of been trying to get it going in practice, and I think everyone on our team has been aware of that. So it was just really good to see her stick with that mentality throughout the game. I don't think she scored the first half, and then she dropped 16 in the third. So she's an awesome player, and I'm just glad that her mentality didn't change even when the ball maybe didn't fall at the beginning of the game.
We're going to go in the second row.
You have a unique aspect of having 5 senior starters. I don't know how many teams in the country have that, but how does that work to your advantage? I mean, obviously you're a veteran team that's very smart and together and does lots of good things. How does that help you, especially this time of year?
We'll start with Morgan and then go to Mallory.
I think that's what you lean on when you get to the tournament. I think as the season progressed, we had a lot of close games where I feel like we could lean on each other in our maturity, and we used that to win close games at the end of the year. And especially, I'm sure the gym will be packed tomorrow. Just leaning on each other and knowing that we've been here before and that we can do it. I think us being the more connected team is going to help us win the game tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously nerves arise in games like this and postseason, but being a veteran group and playing together for so long and this being our third NCAA postseason has been a little bit comforting in that sense. So it's nice looking in the eyes of girls that you've played with for 4 years and starting with such a vet group. It kind of helps, I think, some of the girls coming off the bench who maybe it is their first NCAA or second time playing or whatever. It kind of gives the top to bottom roster reassurance that we've been here before and we can play with anybody.
Our next question is going to come from Joe Reedy of the AP on Zoom.
Is UCLA similar to any teams that you faced this year? And then also, how much did the experience going into Iowa 2 years ago help in terms of, coming into a situation like this weekend in UCLA and going through it before?
We'll have Mallory start and then Morgan.
Yeah, I think the only similarity that I can really speak on right now is that the intimidation factor that nobody expected us to win at Iowa, and we did. So we're not scared of the matchup tomorrow. We're excited and we're grateful to be in this situation. Like Molly said today in practice before we got going, that every day is a bonus day at this point. So yeah, we've kind of been in a similar situation, so we're not turned down from this opportunity.
Okay. I honestly don't watch a ton of women's basketball throughout the year, so I don't know. Today was my first time watching UCLA on film, so I think like physicality-wise and size-wise, we haven't matched up with anyone as big as them this year. But yeah, what Mal said about coming in here, we're not scared.
We're going to go in the third row.
Mal, over the course of the season, you've gotten a lot more comfortable in the flow of the offense, finding your spots. Yesterday, it felt like you were really getting into a rhythm on that low block, finding a lot of offensive rebounds. Can you talk about how you've grown as an offensive player this year? Obviously, your defense has come a long way as well, but...
Yeah, I think some point, I think honestly it was the Xavier game that was kind of a turning point that we discovered that I kind of get in a little bit better rhythm for everybody on offense to kind of hang out a little bit lower, position myself to get the O boards and whatnot and get my teammates open. But yeah, I've definitely gotten a little bit more of a groove, and my coaches have helped me with that. But it's been interesting to see what works because obviously I'm a different offensive player for us in that starting group. But we've kind of worked through some kinks and it's been good. But I feel like yesterday too, I kind of got in rhythm early, which was nice. So definitely offensive rebounding has helped me as well to find my offensive rhythm.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Third row again.
Morgan, yesterday you were getting a lot of wide open shots that you normally don't get a single look at. What was it like to see that you were getting the ball with nobody around you a few times?
Yeah, I'm not used to that, so that was good. I think we did a really good job of pushing in transition yesterday and converting on our 2-on-1 opportunities, and also when they were trying to switch it up between like man and zone, I think we did an okay job of moving the ball, but there was still space there, so I'm shooting that.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Thank you both.
Thanks.
We're going to open up to questions for Coach Flannery, first in the room and then on Zoom.
Similar question. Do you expect Lauren to play? I know you're not privy to their injury reports and you don't have a crystal ball, but do you expect Lauren to play? And if so, how will you go about counteracting her size?
Yeah. I mean, we expect her to play. I mean, I think you have to prepare as if she's going to play, and if she doesn't play, you adjust that way. I'd rather prepare as if she's playing because I know what a factor she is. And like I said, I watched them quite a bit early in the season and was really impressed with how quickly they kind of integrated her because, UCLA had a lot back from last year. So to put somebody who's that talented in and get in a rhythm at the rate that they did, I thought was pretty darn impressive. But yeah, we've got to be physical before she catches the ball. I mean, that's the thing. If she catches it too deep, we don't have a chance. I mean, so if you got to, legally, you've got to be as physical as you can to get her off her spot. And she doesn't have as strong a base. Like you watch her against Peely from Utah. I mean, there's a probably 7-inch size difference, but there's also a strength difference. That Peely has that Lauren doesn't have, and so the physicality piece. We're going to rotate defenders on her. I mean, we're going to try to, assume. And she's only, when healthy, she's been a 25, 26 minute a game player. So I'm not expecting her to be on the floor for probably more than that, based on she didn't play yesterday. But we will have prepared as if she's going to play. And like I said, we got to do. There will be some lineups where we can give more help that they'll put out there, and there'll be some lineups that they'll have out there where the help isn't going to be as available, because they're going to have a better spacing team, because they're going to shoot it better at the positions that, pretty much across the board, which was part of our problem yesterday is, UNLV shoots it, every one of those kids except the kid who was posting can make threes. So when they put kids out there that aren't necessarily floor spacers, we'll be able to crowd more. But I think we have to have good lineup recognition, which I think is something that an older team can do more than some.
Kind of following up on that, how did you think Gabriela Jaquez, did in her place yesterday, and how did they look different with her on the floor?
Yeah, she played great. I mean, she and Kiki were the keys for them early. I mean, Osborne got going in the second half, but those two kind of carried them through the first quarter and a half, and she just plays hard. I mean, she's what I would call a blender. Like, she's not. I mean, she was more of a focal point of what they tried to do last night, but normally she's out there to guard, energy plays. They posted her probably more last night than they normally would, which is something that we'll have to be prepared for. But yeah, I mean, you watch her play, you admire just how hard she plays and what her motor is.
We're going to go in the third row.
Coach, there have been points this season where you've struggled to break a press, and yesterday you did a really good job.
Thanks for pointing
being
that
able
out,
to
Corey.
Get the ball in deep. How were you able to do that yesterday, and how do you continue that into tomorrow's matchup and beyond?
Yeah, I guess I'd say we've worked on it a little bit more the last 2-3 weeks, because we did hit some speed bumps in terms of backcourt ball security. The last, you look at our turnover numbers; they're low on the season, but I think you're also right in saying that we've struggled against pressure late in games when teams are trying to catch up, and I just think part of that is I've probably undercoached it, because you think, well, we start 5 seniors, we should be able to break we've worked on it enough, we should be able to break a press. But I think the results that we had for a while would indicate that we needed to work on it more. So we have, and we've put people in the right spots. I mean, sometimes it's not what you run, it's who you put where, and that's where Emma's such a value to us, because she's a bigger ball handler. So she's a great receiver and a great decision maker. Whereas you look at, Molly's 5, I know we list her at 5'7", but she's 5'6", she's medium speed. Lauren is a smaller, medium speed, quick target. So just putting people in the right spots, I think, was important. We knew they would press us some. And yeah, that's going to be important tomorrow, because whether they zone press or just pick us up, I mean, we're going to have to make sure that we handle their pressure. And I would expect early pressure, even though I thought, they had to work to win last night. I mean, Osborne played 39 minutes, and I can't remember what Kiki's minutes were, but they were pretty high too. So I mean, the score didn't indicate how competitive that game was, and I think, I think UCLA is a reasonably deep team, but we'll see what kind of sustained pressure we see, but we'll be ready for it.
Our next question is going to come from Joe Reedy from the AP on Zoom.
Jim, is UCLA similar to any team that you faced this year, or any Big East squad?
Well, the obvious answer would be UConn. I mean, I wouldn't say that there are that many parallels, but from a talent standpoint, across the board, I think, UConn UConn's the best team we've played. So I think from a talent standpoint, you know, Aaliyah Edwards is a different type of player than Lauren Betts, but they're both elite post players, and Beckers is as good as any perimeter player in the country, maybe other than Caitlin. So I would say that's probably the biggest comp, or the closest comp, but it's still a little bit different. But I also think, here's the thing, I think UConn has played us, you know, two times a year, and so their familiarity with our offense is different than what I'm hoping UCLA's familiarity is with our offense. And I think that's kind of what we bank on in postseason, is that we play differently offensively than a lot of teams. And if we're really good at what we do and you haven't played against us, you know, then we have a chance. If we're not really, and yesterday we were really good at what we did. We made 15 threes, but but we can still be really good without making 15 threes if we do what we do. And so that's going to be a key. And I think, you know, you always think using your bench too is going to be important, I think, to stay fresh, because we can't stand around and win the game tomorrow. We can't go get a shot against their size and athleticism. We've got to move the ball and move bodies, and so that's going to require that we stay as fresh as we can.
Second row.
Following up on what you said, I found it interesting. So are you saying that all these teams scout you, right? But you're saying you have to actually play against it, to experience it, to know, to play well against your style?
I hope so. No, I mean the example, you know, 2 years ago when we played Colorado in the first round, and they asked JR, who does Creighton remind you of in the Pac-12? And she said, nobody. So I think, you know, we beat Colorado. And it was a dogfight. It wasn't, but she said, I think she said a little bit like Utah, but. So that's, you know, that's the hope, is that we are different. And like I said, UConn is the best team, but UConn gets to play us twice a year, so they have a little bit different familiarity. So we're hoping that on one-day prep that UCLA has a hard time guarding our motion, and that we make 15 threes.
I think Joe
Or close
had
to that.
Sorry, Jim. My bad.
No, you're good.
I think Joe had another question on Zoom.
Just how much does going into Iowa 2 years ago, as the 10 seed and getting upset there, especially with a veteran team, benefit in a situation like this?
Yeah, I think we live in the best of all possible worlds, because we have the experience of having gone to the Elite Eight last year. And last year we were out in the first round in a really kind of a thud. So your motivation's a little bit different, you know, when you have the confidence from 2 years ago, and you also have the motivation from knowing that we kind of just fell flat last year. Not that we didn't give effort, but we just didn't play well at all. So I like to think that's the best of all possible worlds, is you know you're good enough to win this game, and you're a little bit extra motivated because you didn't perform at the level that you wanted to last year. So even as a coach, you know, I'm not any different than our players, but I'm more optimistic based on what happened 2 years ago than I might possibly have been if that hadn't happened. So I would imagine if you're 20 or 21 or 22 and you're sitting in that, you know, or you're getting ready to play tomorrow night, that you're gonna use that as when things get tough tomorrow night, because things are going to get tough, and we have to be able to play through it, because it's, you know, we played really well yesterday, but we didn't have 7,000 people cheering against us. We had a pretty similar fan base that UNLV had, so it'll be a little bit trickier tomorrow night, but our players, they'll be ready. When we played at UConn in front of 14,000 just a few weeks ago, so I think if any team can handle it, this team can.
We're going to go in the third row.
Yesterday, Molly picked up 9 assists. How important is it to get her going, either from a playmaking perspective or from a scoring perspective, tomorrow against UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, she's important to our team, and I'll just, you know, if you couldn't tell, I was a little upset with her on a couple of defensive assignments that she wasn't where we needed her to be, but I kept her in the game. and I had to chew on her a little bit because she's that valuable, and that's I said I don't want to have to take you out of the game, but if you keep making the same defensive mistakes but to your point, she had 9 assists, so she does a lot of things that most people don't see, and my expectations for her are high. That's why I feel like I can kind of chew on her like that. But yeah, she does a great job of kind of understanding where do I need to score it a little bit more because one or two of our 3 leading scorers are struggling, or are they going? Do I need to find them do I need to be a little bit more of a passer? I think she understands that because she's played with them so long.
Any more questions for Coach Flannery? Third row again.
On a similar note, you mentioned getting the bench going. How important is it for Kiki or Kennedy to see a couple go in the first half tomorrow?
Well, I'd like for them to see it go in, but if they play well and the ball doesn't go in, that's fine too. The ball, Kennedy played fine yesterday. The ball just didn't go in for her. But maybe tomorrow Jamie isn't 3 for her first 3 threes, and Kennedy hits 1 or 2, and Kiani hits 1. So our bench does have to play well. I mean, they don't necessarily have to shoot great. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more dispersed. Or it's different. It looks different than Jamie getting 9, but they have to play well. I mean, for sure, because we can't win without them, contributing, because we can't be so tired that, like I said, we can't be so tired that we're standing around on offense, and we can't be so tired that we're already going to be a half step slower or a little bit smaller at most positions. So being fresh is important tomorrow. They have to play well.
That's all we have time for. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, that's usually the case with me, Michael.
Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks.